How will the U.S. pay back its debts, which are becoming more expensive to own? The average interest rates on their debts are creeping up as higher interest bonds are being sold to fight inflation. While tax revenue is remaining stagnant or decreasing, their debts are compounding. What is the point of raising interest rates to fight inflation if they won't be able to afford to pay the interest back and possibly need to print more money to pay for it? Doesn't this defeat the initial purpose? Inflation, the cause and solution to all of life's problems. 1. Raise taxes. 2. Print more money. It won't straight up pay it. Just roll the debt forward. Issue new debt to pay the existing debt. This is what it has always done. Gains in productivity could suffice. If AI is really booming, this would be a painless solution. They will never be paid off. Inflation over the long term could reduce them massively with inflation. Except we would need a balanced budget and not add more debt to it, which is unlikely to happen anytime soon. Economists. We will inflate away this debt. A few moments later. Inflation is persistent. Economist shocked Pikachu face. Sell Hawaii. Isn't the debt going from like 30 of GDP to 150 of GDP in 20-30 years warrant actual end of the world worries? Like op. I don't understand why this isn't the threat I think it is. They won't. Everyone will get paid back. The only question is how much each dollar will be worth. Since the government owns the printing presses, you get a less than the cost of inflation pay raise and you get a less than cost of inflation pay raise and you. The cycle is never ending. Build up debt, raise interest rates, lower inflation, build up more debt at an insane pace, lower interest rates now that inflation is down, print money to pay debt, inflation rises, debt still building, raise interest rates to bring down inflation, build up more debt at an insane pace, lower interest rates, print money to pay debt, inflation rises, debt just keeps growing. With F-22s. Raise taxes, by a lot. This is investing. Reddit and people say everything will tank. This is so dumb, I'm baffled by the IQ. Answer: we won't. We are past the point of no return. My prediction is that in a few decades, inflation will be so bad, a civil war will be a risk because the poor and middle class can't afford anything and the patience for the government to control its spending within its already massive tax base will dry up. The civil war will not be with armies, assassinations attempts, hack attacks, citizens refusing to pay any more taxes, and politician homes being attacked will be the tools of the resistance. Print. Spoiler warning: they can't. They don't need to pay them. They provide a service in exchange for having the global fiat currency. No need to worry until international trade is no longer done in US dollars. Most of America's debt is now owned by Americans. Instead of taxing the super rich at a high enough rate, we borrow money from them and pay them back with interest. It seems like a pretty good deal for them. So maybe we stop doing that, or maybe we just don't pay them back and it'll be like they paid the taxes they should have to begin with. It'll just have all types of shitty consequences for the economy that we wouldn't have had if taxes on the super rich and corporations were higher to begin with. They will not default like Greece. So more inflationary impact by printing more currencies. Raise income tax. Spend less on military. First, you need to understand what the debt is exactly. It's not like your CC where you have a monthly payment. Look, Andre Jink, one of his lost recent videos, explains what the debt actually is. How about we shut the printer off? Close the charity and tell everyone to grow up and take care of their own situation for once. Our government is ruining this country. Keep borrowing, Peter, to pay Paul to keep the scam going. Eliminate the Bush and Trump tax cuts will reduce a lot of the damage. 20-year time bomb. Just like SHFs, the U.S. never intends to close the debts. It can't. So instead of paying it off, the government will try to bring inflation and rates back down to prevent further growth of the present value of those liabilities. The U.S. manages its debt through various means like taxes, bonds, and economic growth. It's a complex process, but it's possible with a strong economy. U.S. can easily pay its debts if it raises taxes even just a little bit. Our debt-to-GDP ratio is still lower than many admirable economies such as Venezuela, Japan, and Greece. Therefore, in the short to medium term we will pay for the increased interest on the debt by taking on some more debt. What else would we do? Decrease the deficit? In the long term, interest rates will at some point end up low enough to inflate away the debt again. By invading others who try ask for $. I'm normally of the opinion that we need to cut taxes and cut spending, however the problem is so bad now we need to raise taxes and cut spending. I don't see this ending well. Just my opinion though. They are going to take it from us. Don't forget that along with increasing our taxes, products will have to increase in price with accompanying rise in taxes collected per dollars. The government wants and needs consumer goods and increase in prices. Increased payroll allows inflated dollars to generate more tax revenue. There's always a reason behind inflation smoke mirrors. No one understands. What's actually happening is that no one wants our debt anymore. No one is buying, so rates keep going up. Normally that would attract more buyers, but now no one trusts us, so they see those higher rates and it just reinforces their decision not to buy. The way to look at debt is as a percentage of GDP. The true achievable goal is to grow the economy faster than the national debt. Lower government spending, higher tax revenue, and reasonable GDP growth. I expect this to not happen for decades though. The US will likely look like Japan is today in 20 years in terms of debt to GDP. Printing. They'll rack up a few trillion more and then do a BK and fuck up the world. Lol, pay it back. You funny. We could just sell a couple of territories maybe? By devaluing the dollar note. They'll pay them back the old-fashioned way. War. Honestly would like to see someone try and come collect. We are the one superpower. And highest GDP. China might be beating us now, but slave labor tends to help that so. But honestly they'll just print more and more money and kick it down the road some more. Chapter 7. Well, 33 of us debt is coming due over the next 10 mo. A lot of that can just roll off because we owe it to ourselves. Infinity. Just keep rolling it out with those 18-month interest-free credit card offers. They won't. They won't. Just like all of US debt. It just goes up, rolling on the floor laughing, rolling on the floor laughing. It can never pay its debt. Who is saying that the DC establishment has any plan to pay anything back? Hyperinflation works for them because they have financial wealth and political power. If the rest of us get wiped out, it only makes the wealth differential to the ruling class larger and subsequently gives them more power. I think if you have $33 trillion in debt at 2 and you start collecting at 6 for your money, you will be able to pay your debt. They don't, that's the neat part. Tears of joy, only interest payments. War and leveraging being the world currency. Inflation. Inflate the debt away.